My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubow. And if you've ever wondered how a pastor went from not owning a home at all to amassing 1.4 million in properties, all within just 2.5 years, today's guest, Aaron Ferguson, has an intriguing story to share. He's ventured into real estate using an unconventional method like owner financing, and ultimately using and taking advantage of an FHA loan, ultimately accumulating $250K in property equity. And here's the catch. He's also managed to donate $20,000 to missionaries and ministries in various countries. Aaron, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
It's always interesting because you see people come into real estate from all sorts of corners, and I don't think real estate is something that pastors aren't allowed to participate in, but definitely, it's a wealth strategy that I think is actually well suited for your position. How did you get started in this? What got you, interested in real estate in the beginning?
So the idea first popped off. My brother was attending Blinn College, which is like the community college of Texas A&M, and he was living at a house with 3 other guys, and I remember asking him, so what's your rent? And he's like, I don't know, at the time it was like 500, and there was 4 guys living in a house. And I was like, y'all are each paying $500 a month, and there's 4 of you in this house. And so it kind of got the wheels turning. I just started thinking a lot, and that was a long time ago. Well, we moved to Kearney, Nebraska, and we were looking at different houses to get our first house. And there was kind of 2 things coming together at once. One, I kind of shared a little bit of my ideas for real estate in the future with my realtor, but then also, we were needing a house, and it was cool because 2 things came together at once. And he said, I don't know what you think about this, but I was interested in this, but it just doesn't look like it's going to work out for me. But there's this triplex that would work perfect for y'all. And we didn't have any kids at the time. And so I remember sharing it with my wife, like, hey, what do you think about living with, 7 college students in different units? But what was really cool is, so, her parents like, oh my gosh, you're gonna have terrible tenants, the house is gonna blow up. Aunts and uncles are like, what happens if you have a disaster tenant, whatever. Well, when I first walked into the place, I was like, oh, this is it. Oh, this is gonna work. And just by chance, it had been on the market for some time, I don't know, 50 days or something like that. And so I remember walking around, and then they printed off like here's what the rents are for each unit. And I remember looking at those and the price point that it was at, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is, even on a really rough month, we're going to be okay. So, my wife likes everything to be organized and the plan to be set out. So that's kind of what I did. And then we pulled the trigger, and then, we moved in and it was great. That's how we got started.
So tell me, were there any challenges initially with either renting it, or did you have any of those problem tenants?
So as our first, place, and we lived there, I think the problem, for example, like 4 months in, so we had two friends moved into one of the units, and they said, hey, the drain's bubbling up or whatever. And I was like, okay, we'll get a plumber. Long story short, the plumber is like, hey, we're going to need to bring in a hydrojet machine. And so they're doing their thing. And I go downstairs. I'm like, I wonder how everything's going. And nobody's down there. I was like, oh, I guess they're finished. And then all of a sudden, 100 gallons of raw sewage starts pouring into my basement.
Wow.
100 gallons of toxic raw sewage. And what happened was, when they were hydrojetting, it pushed the sewage into the path of least resistance, which happened to be our house,
Mm-hmm.
in the whole block. And so that was the first of hurdles that happened in our life, but it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. The backup, it's the last thing you want with your property, because um if you're not a plumber and you don't know about the black water, you definitely found out. So when it comes to real estate, what do you think your secret sauce is? What comes easily to you that other people might find difficult to do?
What I found easy for me was, every time I called uh, a real estate agent or even a property owner, I got better
Hmm.
every time. And I learned how to communicate clearly from a place of credibility, which would open up opportunities to potentially have a partnership, purchasing from someone. And um, it was not stressful. I could make calls all day long to find the right place at the right price point, for the right means. And so yeah, I there were some really awesome opportunities that could have happened, and there were opportunities that did happen because of just making the phone calls. And every time I learned more and more and more. And so I think, yeah, and that's probably a strength, is being able to find the deals.
So how does um balancing your real estate and being a pastor work out as far as the day-to-day operations of your business?
It was pretty stressful, at times. So we actually so COVID happened 2 months after the flood incident.
Hmm.
And and so there were some unknowns and uncertainties, and we also purchased two apartments during COVID, which also had the unknowns and uncertainties in a different state.
Yeah.
But so for example, because I purchased in a different state, so I lived in Nebraska, and the
Hmm.
the opportunities for places, they only pop up every once in a while. And
Yeah.
then there's great competition for those places. So a guy is like, "Hey, are you interested in owner financing?" They're like, "No, dude, we'll take cash." And so uh, two places popped up in Kansas. And so I'm a pastor, I have pastor responsibilities, and I have a young family, and I'm driving 3.5 hours to take care of a washer, dryer, or whatever. And I did have a property manager in Kansas, but he charged for things, and so
Everything.
I had to make calculated decisions. So, I enjoyed the drives, and it was a good experience, but it was also stressful because I felt like I was in two different places at once.
Hmm. Yeah, the commute, like it's at arm's length. It's something it's something that seems to be emerging as something that you have to do when you're dealing with, investing. It might not be in your backyard that the best deal is, but um, even have with the property manager, it's never completely hands off. So
Hmm.
where do you want to go in the next 12 months? What does your real estate look like? Where do you want to take your business?
Yeah. So we, at the peak, we had, 23, 24 units, and four different properties. But we also got a sense that it may be time for us to move because I got a new job in Virginia.
Hmm.
And so I'm a pastor in Virginia now, and we're looking at the Virginia market and saying, as Christians, we're saying, God, where do you want us to go next? Like, do you want
Hmm.
us to go into commercial properties? Do you want us to go into residential again? Potentially going into a multi-unit uh, apartment. And so now that we've been here a few months, we're getting the lay of the land, and so that's where we're kind of considering now, is maybe apartments, maybe multi-family.
Yeah. So, as far as, what you've accomplished so far, what would you say your biggest obstacle is now?
Um, Well, it's the same for a lot of people. High price, high interest rate, and and then also the difficulty of tenant laws that would be here in Virginia. They're not as strict as other states, but navigating all that. So like it's going to be really hard to find a good deal here in the sense of that would work for us,
Mhm.
without us, going all in, all cash or whatever. And so as we continue to, we're not going in hot and heavy. We're going real slow and steady, just conversation here, getting to know somebody there. But we are excited. We're to see what's going to happen.
So, what are you doing right now to fund your deals for the people listening at home?
Yeah. So, you know, if there's probably people who are listening who are haven't haven't done it yet, or people who are slow and steady, and then there's people who are probably doing really well. I'll just share this. There was a peak stress moment, and as a Christian, I was spending some time praying because ultimately I wasn't like getting into real estate so that I can buy all the stuff that I want and get a bigger house and a nicer car, but I just wanted to make a difference.
Hmm.
And so I was able to make a difference in the lives of my tenants by caring for them. And, they'd tell me what's going on in their life. So it was probably a little bit weird, but because I'm a pastor and a landlord at the
Hmm.
same time. But I really wanted to care for my tenants. And so I would buy them gifts just to say thank you for being my tenant. I bought chalk and stuff to draw on the sidewalks and all this stuff. But there was this peak stress moment where I was like, God, did you want me to get into this? Am I being selfish by getting into real estate, or is this truly something you want me to do? Because at the same time, my friend's a missionary in Honduras, and he has 38 orphans that live with him,
Hmm.
he and his wife, and they need stuff. And so I was praying at a lake by our town and just asking God. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought I was going to lose everything, honestly. And I felt like God said, call your realtor. So I did. And I thought we were going to maybe make $1,000 or whatever. But my realtor said, hey, the market's way up and you're going to do great. And so that was kind of crazy, to this like stressful, I'm having to call tenants and say, man, you got to you got to pay your rent, because I'm
Hmm.
gonna have to kick you out. And there was this came to this moment where my realtor's like, hey, we got 4 offers on the place. And I was like, wow, I can't believe this happened. And every step of the way, there was more good news because we just trudged along, did the hard work. And also, as a Christian, I believe God was like walking us through this together so that we could bless more people and encourage more people. So
Hmm. There's that line in Proverbs, man determines his plans and God determines his steps. And so
absolutely.
you're meditating, and then things step forward. Without a plan, you're not really going to be able to step forward. So right now, what's your main strategy to get access to more money to keep purchasing and growing that project, to being able to give back? Because you mentioned that you've been able to send some money to different missionaries.
One idea I was toying with was, a lot of people give money just out of their overflow or whatever
Hmm.
to help support different missions and charities and whatnot.
Yeah.
And my thought was, what if a property in and of itself could produce some overflow on a consistent basis to help take care of uh, charities and missions and whatnot? And so that's
Hmm.
kind of how I got kicked off with my second and third property. And
Interesting.
so, um, I have not tapped into my friends yet. And that's something I got to keep on thinking about, because that's a big step for me because of me being a pastor and this relationship that I have with people, by saying,
Hmm.
hey, I know you trust me, but here's an idea in regards to your money. And so that's something that I'm going to keep working on. But, um, you know, I will say that the opportunities for owner financing are limited right now, um,
Hmm.
because of the high market and the high demand.
Mm-hmm.
But interest rates are maybe providing a little bit of opportunity. But I'm going to say it's harder right now
Mm-hmm.
than it was, 2.5 years ago when I first got started. So I think the avenues that we're going to consider is, and really like, hey, are we okay reaching out to close friends and loved ones in regards to investing for the purpose of multiplying to help others?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we going to say maybe with the cash that we made from the sale of our properties to go in on a couple of different places? So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I can remember early in my career, a couple of thoughts around using other people's money was, first of all, why would they do that? Why would anyone give me their money to invest? Why don't they do it themselves? And my mentor said to me, it's because they don't know how. They need our help.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing that was really like, again, with the like, why would they invest with me? Um, because we're putting their money to work. And that was really the big thing, is like, without the real estate investor or the person putting the deals together, there's no opportunity for that money to grow. It's in a bank account, the bank's using it, whatever. And it doesn't change the shape of the local area. When we deploy these people's money into these deals, we can do more, we can help more people, and ultimately, um, you know, be a steward of the money, return it, and hopefully they want to continue to participate. And that was a huge
Yeah.
like wall for me when I started, because I was like, why don't they just do it themselves? And
Yep.
the reality is as we both know, like, there's hours and hours and hours in the back room figuring out the numbers before you even pull the trigger. And for someone who's not educated or in the market, that could be months or never.
Yeah. And I'll speak to the fact that like um grit and emotional determination, because when the 100-gallon raw toxic
Oh
sewage
man.
flood hit, or during the peak of COVID, and the Kansas government was paying for people's rent for free,
Mm-hmm.
and they're telling me I'm getting money for free and you can't kick me out. That's another layer of stress. And then it got down to negative 38 one night, and 5 pipes burst.
Mm-hmm.
um, so there's that emotional toll. And I talked to several investors who, not investors, property owners who were selling their places,
Mm-hmm.
who just couldn't, and they were, maybe just had a place here and there or whatever. They it was a side thing for them, who could not handle the emotional ups and downs. And so if you
Yeah.
get to that place and say, okay, I'm going to be the one who will shoulder this, and the one who will fight through, that's kind of what we're doing for people.
Yeah.
Your money will do the work that you worked super hard for you during your career, and I'm going to handle the difficulty of the day to day, and so that your money can do work. So I absolutely agree with that. Just the ups and downs of investor, but you got to pull the trigger somehow,
Yeah.
and say, let's do this.
Yeah. It can be challenging raising capital at first, because beyond your own limiting beliefs, now a lot of people don't feel comfortable holding that responsibility that you're talking about. That, am I going to be able to rise to the occasion when I do get the backups, when I do get the tenants, when I do get the toilets? Am I going to be able to steward that money to a position that's greater than when it came to me? So, you know, they'll be raising money, or they'll be having conversations to try to put a joint venture partnership, and almost self-sabotaging it, because it's
Hmm.
easier not to go to war than it is to kind of just shoot yourself in the foot. So, it is a big thing to get over that hurdle, but it is, one of the fastest ways to grow a portfolio is to bring other partners on and, work together. What's the saying? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So,
Yeah.
um, it's been a really interesting conversation. As far as um, the missionary work, let's touch on that a little bit, because we didn't really touch on it.
Sure.
We talked about it for a second, but tell people at home, how have you been able to give back now that you've been able to secure a position within real estate. What have you been able to do as far as giving back?
Yeah, I think so. My wife and I, our lifestyle has not changed at all since before we sold our properties.
Mhm.
And the reason being is we know that that's not going to make us happy. And so my wife's been to Africa twice and is connected with missionaries there. I've been to Honduras and Nicaragua. And so I'm
Mhm.
connected with a missionary in Honduras. And so we said, okay, and that was part of the things that we were praying for. God, if there's overflow, there's abundance, we want to give, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm just envisioning like, I was holding this 2-year-old baby who, didn't have any parents, and I was just kind of praying for him. And now when I give money to my missionary friend in Honduras or the missionary in Africa, it's like, okay, this is to help take care of and serve these kids who don't have much. And so we we wanted to say, whatever happens, we just want to help others and bless others and take care of others. And so that's kind of the motivation behind it. And
Mhm.
so, if there's somebody who's doing super well, I would encourage just to find ways in which you can to help others, not necessarily just for the tax write-off, but for truly just benefiting people.
Yeah, I don't like to put it. I don't like to put. It's nice to get the tax credit, but most of the time I'll just put it in there without anything on it because it's like, yeah, there's a tax credit, but especially if you get the tax credit because then you can use it to help more people and keep it going.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely there's benefits to being responsible with mortgage debt because that's ultimately what we're doing is we're being the responsible one when it comes to COVID time and things aren't so black and white as far as who's paying the rent or how can I deal with these tenants and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, it's ultimately we're servicing mortgage debt. So if people want to join you on that mission, they want to participate with you and really start building out something that you can even do more with. How do they connect with you? What should they do? How do they reach out?
Yeah, I think primarily, I'm on Facebook, and I think you can search me. Like, I'm not like super private as far as
Mhm.
my account's concerned.
Mhm.
And I'm also the pastor of West Haven Baptist Church in Portsmouth, Virginia. And so that's another way you can email me or reach out, and I'm totally open to any and all conversations, and definitely not. I have way more to learn, and I just want to be an encouragement for people.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your perspective on real estate. And I think the people at home are going to get a lot out of it.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.